Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only Exian crypto. Now, you know me, I'm super high on Exian. I do believe this project is going to be doing well. Now, I know people don't like to hear that because of the price action over the last few months, but we have been calling lower price points consistently at least for like 3 months, or if not more at this point. So, none of this is a surprise for us, but we will dive into the technical analysis in just a second. Look, we can see who's staking their Exian while they wait for the Goliath.net mainnet. Currently around 30% APR. So it did drop from roughly 55% to 30%. And the reason for that is because a lot of people are staking their Exian. And that's what happens, right? When a lot of people start staking Exian or any other crypto, the average rewards go down per year, which is why it's always just to get in when there's a great opportunity and just kind of hope that a lot of people are not going to make the most out of it. Because, if there was less people, the number would be higher, which means you directly get more rewards. But the more people that stake, the lower the rewards go because they just cannot sustain that type of payout for so many people for those amount of funds that are in. And that's not an Exian just thing. That's every crypto, right? Every crypto is exactly like that. So we can see, right, roughly 30% APR, which is still fantastic, which is still better than most projects right now. When we go and look at the basics stats, we can see we're ranked 165 out of 9,012 active cryptos. So we can see generally, right, we are almost below 9,000 active cryptos. And, at one point we were talking about us almost hitting, 9,600 active cryptos. And we can see, right, cryptos come and go, and say what you want about Exian, but Exian has been holding a solid ranking over the last couple of months despite it going down. Yes, at one point we were probably roughly around 130, 135. Now we're 165. But if you look at the context of the chart, we know we were expecting big corrections over the last few months. So the fact that we are correcting and the fact that we are going down and we're not losing the ranking too dramatically actually shows that there is a lot of life in Exian. We can see still over the last year, technically, if you bought, a year ago, you would still be up 115%. Over the last month, we are down 20%. Over the last week, we are up slightly, right, roughly 2.5%. And in the last day, we are up 4%. So a little bit of a green day. Almost 200 million market cap, almost 15 million volume, nothing crazy in terms of volume. When we go and look at something like this, we can see the holders are rising. And they're rising at a decent pace, right? We are getting roughly 30 to 40 new holders every single day, which is very good and fantastic, especially when a project has been going down for months now. Right, the fact that there's growth while the price is going down shows that there's organic growth and shows that people see the value in Exian and are not just here for the quick flip. If we saw the holders consistently dropping dramatically, especially just the way the price has, it would look really bad and the project would show a lot of red flags. And to be honest, I would be concerned. I would be slightly concerned. But the fact that we are growing consistently shows that people see the vision with this crypto. Listen, let's go into the technical analysis. The first thing I do want to mention is the fact that Bitcoin did try to make a nice move today and has gone up roughly, $4,000 at one point. Right, we can see boom from this 7-hour candle or 7 a.m. candle. When we go look at the current candle, we can see we're up roughly 5%. We were up almost $4,500. We are up now a little bit over $3,500. So, a solid day for Bitcoin. We have to see how everything closes and how December will continue. But if we continue to go up higher and higher and higher consistently, then we will see a lot of life coming into crypto and altcoins, especially. When we go back to our beloved Exian, if I could just find it quickly. Oh, there you go, right at the bottom because it's X, right? We can see that Exian is trying to attempt to go up higher and higher. And technically, right, you know, we are putting up a little bit of a fight. We did take out this most recent high, right? We did take out this most recent high. We are retesting off of the zone right here. So when we go look at the 4-hour mark, we can see there's actually a good amount of structure, but there's just also so many rejections, right? That's like the annoying thing about Exian is There seems to be some type of life potential promise for reversals, but they seem very, very short lived at the current moment. Right, we can see we had this huge 1 hour candle. In fact, over the last, these 2 hours, we went up even 15% at one point. But once again, it's just classic Xian where it goes up a lot and then just instantly kind of sells off. Right, when we look at the 4 hour candle closes, I think if we close below this point of 0.0054, I personally don't believe the narrative is going to shift for Xian in terms of us reversing just yet, unless Bitcoin sees massive growth of thousands of dollars this week. That is the only way I could see it as of right now. Okay, because right now, I'm saying we're not looking the healthiest in terms of the 4 hour, in terms of the daily, it's looking okay, but we did just get two massive rejections. And usually, when you get two massive rejections, right, even if we go up, right, we can see like previously, it's all really short term most of the time. So, now obviously, not what people want to hear, but the fact that we are starting to slow down does show decent promise, does show decent life. Like at the end of the day, when this whole area was getting corrected, right, there were times where we showed a little bit of reversals and then we didn't, a little bit of reversals, then we didn't. But the true time when we start to show reversals is when we actually filled up all of this imbalance here. Right, once we kind of filled up all this imbalance, we kind of created a nice support. We were lingering for a couple of weeks and then we burst it up. And if that were to be the exact same scenario, then we still have at least, right, this whole kind of zone to go. So downwards potentially to 0.003, right? That would be like the most sniper entry. Getting between 0.003 and like the 3.5 is like the most optimal buying zone, in my personal opinion. That is when the risk is extremely low, the rewards at all time high, because you would be buying at the end of the imbalance, right? So for me, in theory, that is where you would be looking to get your sniper entry. When we look at it from a different perspective, right? Like these bottoms before we pumped and this top, we could see we are below the 0.88. So we are probably roughly down 90, 91, 92% from the most recent highs. So obviously not the most ideal, and I can understand why people are upset if they bought way higher, especially if they thought, things are going to be going up and up and up and up, because even if you bought somewhere, let's say over here at 0.018, you would be down 70% at this point. So it's not looking pretty. If you bought up higher here, right, you would be down roughly 86%. So not looking pretty at all. I understand people's frustrations. But look, I'm still very optimistic about Xion. I do believe in the utility and the project. I do believe at the bare minimum, we should probably be taking out these 2025 highs. So my bare minimum price prediction is going to be 5 cents. And then when we start going up to higher zones, we do have a lot of imbalance over here, roughly between the 14 cents and the 11 cents. Yes, granted, it's a big range, but when we actually look at it from a Fibonacci standpoint, we can see that is the 2.2 to the 3.2 sweet zone, right? Very, very nice. And then we do have an institutional candle here. So all of these zones for me are valid. The only way I would be, deciding where in theory the top is going to be or where to cash out is in the moment, right? When you see the data, when you see reversal signs, that's when you have to pull the trigger. It's very hard to say, oh yeah, we're going to go 100% to 10 cents. Oh yeah, we're going to go 100% to 20 cents. It's very, very hard to say that. But I do believe, we could be looking at high probability zones and be preparing ourselves mentally. That is it though, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. I still believe overall this project at the bare minimum should be seeing roughly 8x from here, and probably, even upwards of 25x in 2026. Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.